I noticed the slippery slope of having opened up the space again and having included basically all the stuff that I set out not to include. Masturbation, porn and masturbation in that. Social media, movies, more interaction with people. And so in a lot of ways, the space is kind of like it was before I started all of this. It's just on the other end of a 2-month dive in and just a deeper connection to myself and what I want and a game of presence. But that pendulum swing that I talked about definitely has a gravity. And so there's a sense of learning to not working and not, like I'm circling some, but not having a lot of work that I have to do and just having a lot of time on my hands, like watching how those two things are interacting with each other. The habits or the things that I know are avoidance past a certain point with the new things that I've been integrating. And that all mixed with me having let go of the enlightenment. It's interesting. I don't actually know how to fully describe it because there is a part of me that is practicing just being in whatever I'm in, whether I'm on social media or I'm playing music or I'm out in nature or I'm masturbating or I'm whatever. Just being there. No judgment, whatever. And there is a part of me that can do that. There's a part of me that still has an aspect, it still has a perspective of there's a tipping point with every single one of them where it's like, okay, I'm okay with this to a point. And past that point, it no longer feels healthy. It no longer feels good. It no longer feels like something I want to be doing. And then being able to be present in that as it comes and as I pass that threshold, because I have several times in the last couple of weeks, there has been a point where it's like, oh yeah, I'm still scrolling on social media and I don't really want to be, but I'm also fatigued and tired and I'm in it and I feel the addiction, dopamine release and being okay and like learning to be in that and not judge that and not make it wrong, while simultaneously not then getting caught in something I don't want to be in. I think it's interesting that this is the direction that this space has taken, because I didn't think that this was going to be the direction. I expected to just not include these things for years, just basically say goodbye to these things for a long time. And I think in the taking it gentler on myself, I've let them back in. But there's also an aspect of including the world a little bit more, or at least the current state of society a little bit more in what I'm doing that feels edgy. It feels like a risk. Like there is, in some ways, it makes the space and what I'm doing more palatable. But in other ways, it makes it harder. Because I am someone who can just easily throw on a movie and then another movie. That's not a stretch for me. Yeah, so I didn't expect it to go this way, and I didn't. It's also made me less apt to record things. It's made me less interested in recording things, which I'm not necessarily stoked about. Yeah, I'm sure some people will relate to this, but I think I've said this in the past, but I'm an all or nothing type of guy. It's either, I don't want any pizza or I want the whole pizza. And over time I've had to learn to just have 2 slices type of thing. And so that's what feels like is coming in now is, all right, man, you danced with the full isolation and you have at different points in your life. Now it's time to keep playing the game of presence, keep being with this moment completely when all of me shows up. And there's an aspect of that I think is often referred to or talked about or referenced in different shadow work or therapeutic work or whatever it is, where it's like, hey, yeah, learn to be completely present as you are. But it's harder to do for a lot of us, especially me, when the gross part of me shows up, or the part that I judge most, or the lazy part of me shows up, or the part of me that's like, fuck, yeah, I don't really want to record right now, shows up. And staying, being okay with it, and not, there's an aspect here of learning to meet myself. And this is where parenting comes in and reparenting comes in. Can I meet myself as I am and say, hey, how you feeling? I'm not feeling too great. Okay, what's going on? And feel into that physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. Give it space, whatever space it needs, and then say, all right, and now we need to go do this thing. Right? It's like getting a kid to go to school. I don't want to go to school. Well, why not? What's going on? Well, I don't like school. Well, why don't you like school? It's boring, or the kids there are mean, or whatever it is. Like, okay, how does that make you feel? Angry, sad, bored, uninterested. Okay, let's feel that. I hear you. That makes sense. I thought school was boring too. Right? And giving the space for that, I don't want to. Giving the space for the tantrum, giving the space for the crying, giving the space for the yell, giving the space for whatever it is. And then at the end of it, and not just rushing it through, but really giving it space. And at the end of it saying, okay, but now it's time to go to school. Like, I get you don't want to go, but you're going anyway. And it's okay to feel whether you like it or not. Let's feel that, but we're going. And that's a point I think that in some areas I've gotten a lot better at. There are certain harder things that I do and I've learned to do. But then there are certain things where it's just like, nah, I don't wanna. And the I don't wanna wins, and I don't. Or I repress the I don't wanna and I do it anyway, but then my emotions don't get the expression that they need. And so there's a balance there. And I think that that's one of the challenges of learning to feel is something that I'm noticing in myself, is that giving my space to feel as deeply as I need to without letting that control my actions. And that, it's no joke. I've had to repress feeling in order to be able to do things, or I've had to not do things because of how much I've felt. And doing both consistently, being disciplined, being consistent in maybe whether it be exercise or meditation or the game of presence or whatever it is that I want to keep doing for passion, but also purpose and for the outcome as well as the experience, right? For a lot of different reasons. and also be able to cater to the part of me that may or may not, the emotional part of me that may or may not want that. Yeah, I'd actually be curious to hear. I haven't asked for any comments yet in these videos, but I'd be curious to hear how that lands for people, because this is something I see a lot of. I've seen a lot of in coaching, and I've tried to do a lot with myself, but it definitely is an area of growth that I have. It's an area of, and then I think on top of all of that is then just being the one who can do both of those things, right? Not having that happen in a session or a therapy session, a coaching session, or having a parent do that, or having a teacher do that, or having, whatever it is, that coming from the outside that, okay, and now you're going to school, when you do or don't have a choice, or, it's basically like, oh yeah, I think it's been easier for me to say, okay, like I'll go to school. But if I'm the one who's sitting there saying, I don't want to go to school, and I feel my emotions, it's way easier to be like, yeah, I'm not going to school. Why would I do that? I don't want to. And so being the boundary drawer, as well as the boundary holder, as well as the boundary follower, is a very different story. And I think if I were to sum up my challenges, that would be a massive part of it. And that would also be a massive part of what I've seen in a lot of people, is being that all in one. Yeah, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of me. It asks a lot of me. So I've been doing my best to keep up with the stretching and the playing music and meditating and all that stuff, but it has definitely decreased since I opened up the space again. And so I want to find a balance. And I'm also noticing in the balance that some days will be more of one and some days will be more of the other.